The Mississippi House of Representatives is now in session. Please let the House come to order. Please stand as we're led in prayer by a guest to be introduced by the lady from Madison. Remain standing thereafter for the pledge. And we have a special guest today who will lead us in the national anthem as well. So please remain standing. Lady from Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce Pastor Jason Dillon from the Parkway Pentecostal Church, about a mile from my church. And so on the Sundays that I have off from teaching life group, I sometimes go to the Pentecostal Church because they have been huge supporters of not only me, but of bringing God to life and through the Holy Spirit. So I just want to introduce Pastor Jason Dillon from Parkway Pentecostal Church. Thank you.
Let us pray. God, it is with great confidence that we come to you today because, God, you are the sovereign Lord of heaven and earth. And God, I thank you, dear Lord, that you are mindful of us today. And as we approach you with sincere desire to acknowledge you in all of our ways, I believe, God, that you're going to move in this moment. God, I thank you for the men and women that make up this body, and I pray today that you would minister to them, minister to their families. Let peace be in their homes. Let blessings and prosperity blanket them according to your will and as it answers to the will of God in their life. I pray today, God, that you would let the Spirit of God literally fill this chamber, that men and women would feel the Holy Spirit inside this chamber. I pray today that as you have moved and you have broken out at Asbury College, that you would let that happen in this chamber. God, I believe that you want to move in the affairs of this state, that God, you are mindful of what goes on in this state, and your Spirit and the people of this body want a move of the Spirit of God. We pray to that end that, God, you would have no chains upon your hands, that you would move in our lives, that you would heal the sick, that you would raise the dead, that you would move in marriages and bring them back together. God, I'm praying, dear Lord, for the precious people that are in this place who daily craft legislation that benefits and blesses the state of Mississippi. Lord God, do a great work in them. Let every man and woman's values be derived from the Word of God. Thank you, dear Lord, that we can be as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that we can stand tall and we can stand firm whenever forces are asking and they are playing the music, that we bow down to the current carnal society. We can say no, but you'll burn. That's okay. I will stand for God and I will honor God in everything that I do. I pray, God, let that be the passionate heart cry of every man and woman. Jesus, it is with confidence, it is yet with humility that we come to you today. Bless the proceedings that happen in this place. Thank you for the speaker. I pray as he directs these precious men and women that, God, you would continue to give him grace and clarity. I praise you, God, for what you're doing in the state of Mississippi. We lift up this state before you, and I thank you, God, that you are our God, the one true and living God. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Would everybody say amen?
Would you please join me in the pledge? Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I'll recognize the gentleman from Pike who will come and introduce our singer for the national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you all this morning Mr. T. Burns. Him and his mother, Ms. Kashonda Burns. T. Burns is going to lead us in the national anthem this morning. Just a little bit about him. He comes from the great city of Macomb, the greatest, which is in the greatest district in the state of Mississippi, District 98. He's the lead singer of the group T Burns and Dedicated. He also has 2 albums as well. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. T Burns.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bullets bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Close the machine, Madam Clerk.
There's a quorum present, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll have the reading of the journal. Gentleman from Rankin moves we dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Report of select committees.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Report of standing committees.
We have reports on the calendar, Mr. Speaker.
Introductions of bills and constitutional amendments. Gentleman from Marion, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with reading and introductions.
Is there objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Resolutions, petitions, memorials, and other papers.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
This time we'll have introductions of guests and visitors. Gentleman from Mitawamba, Mr. Boyd.
Gentlemen and ladies of the House, I'd like to have your attention. The ladies and gentlemen on the top row of the North Gallery are participants in the Mississippi Highway Patrol Itawamba Community College candidate on rapid entry program. They're going through some of the same things that we do at our training of their troopers, and they're in a course and they're on that rapid entry to get into a trooper school. So we're thankful for these guys. I want y'all to make them welcome.
Gentleman from Jones, Mr. Scoggin.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. I'd like for the House and visitors to help me to congratulate my desk mate, Mr. Ford. He is now the proud grandfather of a 7-pound, 1-ounce, 19-inch granddaughter.
Gentleman from Lafayette, Mr. DeWeese.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the North Gallery, it is my privilege today to introduce you to Mayor Tannehill's leadership class from Oxford this year. I was going to call them all by name, but I do have one very special one that, to me, that's in the class this year, and that's my daughter, Tyson DeWeese, who's sitting up there. And if y'all will, please make them feel welcome.
All right, I don't see any further introductions at this time. I'm informed we do have a special guest, so I'm going to recognize the gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Powell. I'm sorry, sir, what? Oh, they're not here yet? All right. We'll go to the calendar then. Jim Octavia Hall, Mr. Taylor, what purpose you seek recognition?
Introduction, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to introduce two people from God's country. Y'all know where that is. That's in Starkville, Mississippi. There's the Rice family. The Rice family, please stand. Activists in the community, involved in the NACP, my hometown people, welcome the Rice to the Capitol. Thank you so much.
All right, we will go to the calendar, concurrence, non-concurrence calendar. I don't see anybody. Motion to reconsider calendar. Any chairman have an item? Jumping Jackson, Mr. Zuber.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On that calendar today, item number 3, Senate Bill 2224. I move to table.
Motion is to table. Those opposed have 5 minutes. Any opposed? I don't see any. If you favor the motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Is there another item on that calendar any chairman wishes to move? All right, I don't see any. Rules calendar passes. Appropriations calendar. Yes, sir, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, appropriations calendar, item number 1 would be Senate Bill 2372. I recognize the gentleman from Pike to explain the bill. Bring it up and explain the bill.
Gentleman calls bill up, moves the rules to be suspended. Bill considered engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman from Pike is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is a strike all. This is simply, this is an amendment to the bill. It's a strike all that we're going to insert House Bill 271, which is just conforming language. This is our hospital grant program based on licensed numbers of beds throughout Mississippi for our hospitals. So it is just conforming to what we've already passed in this a few weeks ago. So that is the explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a strike all. Question occurs on the strike all. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2372. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 111 yeas, 3 nays, bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, let's go to item number 2. This would be Senate Bill 2444. I recognize the gentlelady from me to bring up this and the next 3 bills. Bring them up and explain.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves it to rules be suspended. Bill considered engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Ladies recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, the strike-off for Senate Bill 2444 is just bringing forward provisions of the ARPA program to provide for technical corrections and amendments, and we're actually just inserting our House Bill 604 into this strike-off. And then in sections 13 through 16, we're allowing for the escalation for a budget for ARPA premium pay at the State Fire Academy, the Department of Marine Resources, the Department of Public Safety, and the Department of Military. And there is a reverse repealer on the bill. That's an explanation of the strike all, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the strike all? I don't see any. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2444. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 112 yeas and 4 nays, The bill passes. I'm going to recognize the gentleman from Hines, Mr. Banks, for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House of Representatives, we are really honored this morning because this morning we have some students from the #1 elementary school in the state of Mississippi, which is the Obama Magnet School, which is located right here on the other side of the Supreme Court. So I want you to recognize these young kids right here in the South Gallery. We're very proud of them. We welcome you to Capitol and what your future is going to be. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, Obama Magnet School, to your teachers, your staff, everybody else. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Gentleman from Jackson, Mr. Zuber, what purpose do you seek recognition?
The introduction, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like for you and the other members of the House to please help me make welcome the Administrator for Jackson County, Mr. Brian Fulton, in the North Gallery.
All right, I believe our special guests have arrived. So at this time, I'm going to recognize the gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Powell, to come forward and introduce our special guest. I ask that you give him your attention, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want everybody, if you'll notice the young lady standing in the North Gallery, I'd like to explain why they're here. This is mine and Mr. Yancey's Northwest Rankin cheerleading squad. They are #1 in public school for this year. They scored a 99 out of 100 to win the state championship. They won the mid-regional championship, and then they went to nationals and won nationals. Now, the thing that's really interesting, this is back-to-back for this squad. They've won 2 national championships in a row on their game day competition. So that's pretty impressive to me. Their coach, Miss Abear, right here, has done this 2 years in a row. There's 7 seniors and I believe 20 undergrads, but back-to-back national champions. Please congratulate them for me.
All right, we will return to the calendar now. Next item.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to go to item number 3, Senate Bill, no, wait a minute.
2446.
2446. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Lady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a strike all. The strike all is just simply the House bill that we passed earlier in the session that had the cleanup language for various projects. And this bill actually provides, the strike all provides for technical amendments and adjustments to various projects and programs and agencies. And then lastly, sections 14 through 20 brings forward authority of MDA to receive administration fees, regardless of whether the projects are bonded or appropriated by the legislature. Section 21 is a new section that's added that just says, upon the request of the commission, the amounts of the annual fire fund may be transferred to the rural fire truck fund, the supplementary rural fire truck fund, the municipal fire protection fund, and/or county volunteer fire funds. Section 22 just allows MDOT to transfer funds from the 22 infrastructure match fund to the agency support fund. And this is actually effective upon passage in Section 23. That's an explanation of the strike all, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? I don't see any. If you favor the strike, all indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2446. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 113 yeas and 3 nays, bill passes. Next item.
Mr. Speaker, I'll go to item number 4, Senate Bill 2454. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Lady recognized.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, we have a strike all, and the strike all amendment is to insert our House Bill 603, which brings forward certain code sections related to the budget process and fiscal matters. for possible amendment during the budget process. And additionally, this strike all is bringing forward certain sections of the Gulf Coast Restoration Fund for possible amendment. And it also includes local units of government, state institutions of higher learning, public community colleges, and government-owned ports and government-owned airports and projects that are eligible for 100% funding. And that is an explanation of the strike all, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield for any questions.
Questions on the strike all? I don't see any. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2454. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 115 yeas, 2 nays, bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies of the House, let's go to item number 5, Senate Bill 2616. I recognize the gentleman from Montgomery, Vice Chairman, bring the bill up and explain it.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended, bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman from Montgomery.
Thank you,
recognized.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, earlier in the session, if you recall, the Real Estate Board and the Real Estate Appraisers Board chose to separate. They're no longer in one budget, two separate budgets. This bill decreases the fees of the Mississippi Real Estate Commission, and it charges from $150 down to $100, a reduction in fees of realtors. The bill was amended to stipulate that the state fiscal officer shall also transfer $1 million from the Real Estate Licensing Fund to the Real Estate Appraisers Licensing Fund during the fiscal year 2024, and this is simply for relocation, moving, and separation of the two businesses. And that's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry, we have an amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, you're recognized for your amendment.
The committee amendment simply transfers this $1 million from the Real Estate Commission to the Real Estate Appraisers Board.
Questions on the amendment?
Thank you.
Jim, okay. I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Any questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2616. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 113 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. I'm going to recognize the gentleman from Itawamba for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Up in the North Gallery, we have people from the Tom Bibby Electric Cooperative. These are students that are in the area that have shown good attitudes and the ability to do things, and now they're in the class that they have down here for the workshop. Welcome the folks from Tom Bibby Electric Power Association.
Gentleman from Lincoln, Mr. Mango.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask that the House members join me in welcoming. We have 3 students here. Bryce Peoples here in the, y'all stand up now, we're going to wave at you. In the North Gallery, Bryce Peoples, Isabella Clark, and Maggie Shepard that are here with the Magnolia Electric Power Youth Leadership Conference. Thank you.
Gentleman from Lowndes, Mr. Boyd.
Another intro out of order, please, sir. Help me welcome people from Ford County Electric Power Association leadership team, Ms. Brown, Ms. Gundy, Ms. Murphy, and Ms. Stevens. They're here with Mr. Barr. Thank y'all for coming.
Gentleman from Choctaw, Mr. Hood. Passes. Gentleman from Lowndes, everybody passes. All right, good. We're back to the calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we would move to item number 6, Senate Bill 2663, call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this bill changes the Historic Site Preservation Grant Fund at the Department of Archives and History to provide that all grant sites must be listed on the National Register of Historical Places, and it also the Mississippi Department of Archives and History Board of Trustees may approve the grant sites. And finally, this bill requires the Department of Archives and History to submit a report annually of the grant applications received and provided for. And that's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Any questions? I don't see any.
Final passage.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2663. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 110 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Haney. What purpose you seek recognition?
Introduction out of order, sir.
You're recognized.
Along we had some of our Coast Electric folks that we had breakfast with. So on behalf of the Coast Electric delegates, we want to welcome, and I might hit some of the names. We have Anna Gotray from D'Iberville. Wave at us. Landon Blake from West Harrison High School. Lindsay Holloway and Philip Ogogori. Help me out. That's good enough there. For Gulfport High. Appreciate y'all coming.
Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, let's go to item number 7. That'd be Senate Bill 2664. I recognize the lady from MIT to bring this up. Make the usual motion for this and bill number 8.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended, bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye, opposed nay. The ayes have it. Ladies recognized.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, Senate Bill 2664 provides technical adjustments and corrections at various state agencies and programs. And just by way of example, we're dealing with the law enforcement and firefighters premium pay in several of these sections. Also, we are dealing with, in the bill, creating the Land, Water, Timber Resources Fund. And a lot of these funds we dealt with previously in a House bill. And all it does, again, is just provides technical adjustments and corrections at various state agencies and programs. And I have an amendment also, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, you're recognized for your amendment.
The amendment is to delete Section 10. This section did provide administrative expenses to the Department of Health for the Local Provider Innovation Grant Program, but this section is included in House Bill 604 and House Bill 518, and that has the preferred language that we want. And that's an explanation of the amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2664. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk, by a vote of 114 yeas and 2 nays. Bill passes. Next item.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to go to item number 8, Senate Bill 2724. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Ladies recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, Senate Bill 2724 exempts the Department of Public Safety from the purchasing, procurement, and contracting requirements for building the new headquarters. The current contractor is completing phase 1 of the project. And with this bill, it would provide that the Bureau of Buildings and Grounds will execute a contract for the remainder of the project with the contractor that is able to complete the project in the most expedient manner. This bill is just for expediency purposes, and this act is going to be effective upon passage. That's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield for any questions.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2724. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 109 yeas, 6 nays, bill passes. Next item.
Appropriation yields the floor.
Appropriation yields. Next calendar, ways to be mean. Gentleman from Jackson, Zuber, what you want?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One more introduction, if I may.
What?
One more introduction, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized.
Thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, I'd like for you and the other members of the House to help me make welcome members of Project Search in the South Gallery. Project Search, ladies and gentlemen, is a program dedicated to the education and training of citizens with disabilities. Specifically, we have Lee Worsham, the instructor, Byron Perez, one of the interns, Keon Tay Hughes, intern, Molly Tremonte, business liaison with Singing River, Angela Sellers, counselor, Faye Culpepper, director, Kevin Bishop, director of workforce development, and last but not least, Chris Howard, executive director of the Department of Rehabilitation Services. Please help me make welcome.
Jim from Choctaw, you have an introduction?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen in the House, on behalf of the gentleman from Tallahatchie, I would like in the South Gallery to make welcome Miss Amy Hilliard. She's at the Main Street Association in the Winston County Partnership, and her daughter is also paging for Representative Uri this week. Please give her a hand.
Lady from Lowndes, Ms. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to introduce our Director of Main Street Columbus, Barbara Bigelow, and her husband, Chuck Bigelow.
All right, we recognize the chairman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask that we go to item 2, Senate Bill 2700, call that bill up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You recognize, gentlemen.
Would ask that we recognize the gentleman from Tishomingo. I don't see him. Where'd he go? Here he comes. Recognize the gentleman from Tishomingo, please.
Gentleman from Tishomingo, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Bill 2700. If you'll look in the bill, it starts on line 149, the new language, 142, I'm sorry. What we're saying in this bill, it came at the request of the Veterans Affairs Board. Anyone a qualified homeowner who is unremarried, surviving spouse of a member of the United States Armed Forces was killed or died in active duty, a member of the reserve component of the United States Armed Forces or National Guard was killed or died in active duty for training, shall be allowed the tax exemption for homestead until that person gets remarried. So it's basically widows or widowers. If someone dies in training, the surviving spouse that's unremarried, will continue to get that homestead exemption that they've been getting. So with that being said, Mr. Speaker, I'll answer any questions.
Questions on the bill. Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, I forgot to ask you in committee when this bill came up. The widow can get the exemption, unmarried widow. What after she gets the exemption, and then later on, a year or two later, she marries again? Now, what happened to the exemption?
The language in the bill says unremarried. So yes, so her spouse, died in.
But unremarried, man, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But then the unremarried widow gets the exemption. Then, subsequent to that, a year later, she married somebody.
So when she goes to file her homestead exemption there at the courthouse, I'm sure that question is going to be brought up. Have you remarried?
Okay, now, so if she remarried, that exemption
she will lose
away.
that. That's exactly right.
Okay,
yes,
that's what
we're honoring our veterans that have died in the line of duty.
Yeah,
yes,
I just want to get clarification on that. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move final passage, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. you're in favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item 3, Senate Bill 2006, would call that bill up. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen. And I believe you've got a strike all.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the House. Item 3, Senate Bill 2006, is dealing with the very popular festival wine permit. We've removed the repealer, the original repealer that was in it, but we put a reverse repealer in it. We've got some clarifying language that we need to work on, and we just need to keep it alive.
Questions on the strike all? I don't see any, gentlemen. He moves adoption of the strike all. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Strike all is adopted. Anything further on the bill? He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 107 yeas, 6 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item 4, Senate Bill 2011. I'd ask we call that bill up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill, gentlemen.
Thank you. So Senate Bill 2011, this is a pretty simple bill. It just basically states that if a business, LLC, corporation, or a trust owns a vehicle, and then that entity conveys the vehicle to either the owner of the company or from the trustee to the beneficiary, that does not, just clarifies that does not trigger a taxable event for sales tax purposes.
Questions on the bill? Don't see any, gentlemen. You move final passage?
Yes.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 1 nay, the bill passes. Next item.
We would move to item 5, Senate Bill 2018. Call that bill up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Would next ask that we recognize the gentleman from Jackson to handle the bill.
Gentleman from Jackson is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. Senate Bill 2018 is pretty simple. If you recall last year, for the liquor industry, we moved the point of collection for sales tax from the wholesale level to the retail level. We're trying to do the same thing for the beer industry in this bill. That's my explanation.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 108 yeas, 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Next, we move to item 6, Senate Bill 2181. Call that bill up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Would ask that we call up the strike all.
You're recognized to explain the strike all.
The strike all just added a reverse repealer to this bill, which otherwise recognizes the 2022 National Championship Rebels baseball team. That's what it does. And I believe we also have the golf team is in here as well, so I don't want to leave them out. They're just to make sure we have a vehicle alive for tags, though we are going to put a reverse repealer in it and that's what the strike all does. That's an explanation of the bill.
I don't see any questions. The question occurs on the adoption of strike all amendment number 1. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Strike all is adopted. Anything further on the bill?
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 1 nay, the bill passes. Gentleman from Choctaw, Mr. Hood, for what purpose?
Introduction, Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, in the North and South Gallery, we have members from across the state of Mississippi from the Main Street Association. Please help make all of them welcome to today.
Gentleman from Jackson, Mr. Barton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would everyone help me make welcome in both galleries? We have a group of Leadership Jackson County here today. Help them make welcome.
Gentleman from Kemper, Mr. Evans.
Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the North Gallery, we have a group of students from East Mississippi Electric Power Association, their leadership group. We'll make them welcome.
Welcome, gentlemen. You're recognized for your next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item 9, Senate Bill 2335. Would ask that we call that bill up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Thank you. We do have a strike all that we ask we call that up as well.
The lady from Lowndes, Ms. McLean, you indicate you have an amendment. Now would be the time for that.
Mr. Speaker, I'm informed that the amendment is to the strike all, so I do think we need to call the strike all up and then not, before we do the amendment, if I'm right. Thank you.
Gentlemen, the strike all is before us, and of course, after it's adopted, it cannot be amended. So if it's going to be an amendment, it'll be now. You want to explain your amendment, lady? You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment to Senate Bill 2335 simply increases the tax credit from 50% to 75% for an employer that provides child care, and also increases the eligible stipend from $3,000 to $6,000. That's an explanation of the amendment.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. Chairman, you wish to respond?
I was just going to tell the body, the lady spoke with me about her amendment, and there's no objection to the amendment.
Question occurs on the adoption of Amendment 1 to the strike all amendment. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment's adopted. Anything further on the strike all?
No, sir.
Chairman moves adoption of the strike all amendment. If you favor the strike all amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Anything further, gentlemen, on the bill?
And move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Lady from Jones, Ms. Robinson.
Morning, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, in the North Gallery, I would like for you to help me make welcome 3 students and their advisor, Polly McGee from Dixie Electric Power Association from Jones County. Y'all stand up, students. Thank you for being here. Welcome to your capital.
Gentleman from Jackson, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Introduction out of order.
You're recognized.
I have two introductions. In the South Gallery, I think I saw Moss Point School Board member Dr. Katira Payton. If the House would help me make her welcome. Also in the North Gallery, City of Moss Point Alderman, Mr. Darius Wilson. Thank you.
Gentleman from Alcorn, Mr. Bain.
Mr. Speaker, introduction out of order. In the South Gallery, make welcome, you got Ethan Kimbrough from Alcorn County Electric Leadership Program this morning, along with Kaiser Stafford and their host, Mr. Kevin Bragg. Make them feel welcome.
Welcome to all of you. Okay, Mr. Chairman, we're ready to move to the next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We would skip item 10 for now and go to item 11, Senate Bill 2612. Would ask that we call that bill up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time and placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen. I believe you got a strike all.
I do. We have a strike all, and I'll explain the strike all at the proper time.
You're recognized to explain the strike all.
The strike all is simply House Bill 1167. This is the bill that's dealing with the construction laws and allowing our contractors to have more time codifying to the end of the year to allow them to get their license based on experience without having to take a test. It's the exact language of House Bill 1167 that we have already passed. The Senate killed our bill, and so we're taking 1167 and inserting it into this bill that has the code sections.
Gentleman from Jackson, Mr. Busby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Yield.
Yes, sir.
There are two parts of getting that contractor license. There's a skills test that is being waived, I believe, because of experience. There's another part that is business and law for the state of Mississippi. Was that part also waived?
I'm sorry, gentlemen, I couldn't hear you. Could you say that one more time?
There are two tests that contractors have to take in the state. One's a skills test.
Okay.
The other is business and law for the state of Mississippi. It was my understanding, I heard from some contractor friends of mine, that the business and law portion was not waived. Can you clarify that?
My understanding, I'll check on that, gentleman. My understanding of what this does is that it would waive both of them if they meet the experience qualifications.
Thank you.
Okay.
Don't see any further questions. You move adoption of strike all, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Question recurs on the adoption of strike all amendment. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Strike all is adopted. Anything further?
Not at this time, no, sir.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 114 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Item 12, Senate Bill 2681. I'd ask that we call that bill up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Mr. Speaker, just by way of procedural, we are not going to call up a strike all on this bill. And with that, I would ask that we recognize a gentleman from Oktibbeha to handle it. Let me get my procedure right. I would actually move that we table the strike all.
Gentleman's motion is to table the strike all. If you favor the gentleman's motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Strike all is tabled. We are back on the bill. You're recognized to explain the bill, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, 2681 is of the Mississippi Development Authorities to clarify the trigger for tax exemptions and the cutoff under the Growth and Prosperity Act. It's going from 1 year to 3 years. It gives the communities that need some time to make certain these projects are working, makes them able to have a little bit more time. That's what this does. That's all.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Tallahatchie.
Introduction, Mr. Speaker, at the proper time.
Let us put this to a vote, and I'll come right back to you. I don't see any questions on the bill, gentlemen. You move final passage.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay.
Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, excuse me, gentlemen. Gentleman from Tallahatchie, Mr. Reynolds, for an introduction.
Mr. Speaker, in the South Gallery, we have some young folks from the Tallahatchie Valley Electric Power Association area, and Earl Gibson, who is with Tallahatchie Valley, and they keep the lights on in our area, and they keep them on well. Y'all stand up.
Mr. Chairman, you're recognized for your next item.
Thank you. I'd ask that we next go to item 13, Senate Bill 2692, and call that bill up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill, gentlemen. I believe you got a strike call.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, the strike all is simply the exact language of House Bill 1734 that passed. We passed it last week on the revenue deadline. That is the bill that has, it's a bond bill that, as I explained, sets the amounts of $1 in that to have a vehicle alive in case we need to have one alive, need to do anything bond-wise, or need to amend any old bonds. In addition to that, that has the language in it about the statewide LSBP and state aid bridge program changes that we made in 1734, and that is an explanation of the strike-all.
Questions on the strike-all? Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Again, it's hard to hear over here. What does it lower it to?
You lower what? Which part of it?
I believe it lowers the amount of the total bonds.
No, it has bonds in it for IHL, community college, and I believe state agencies as well, but we set them at $1. The purpose is to just have a vehicle alive in case we need to go amend old bonds, that type of thing. It does have the additional diversion for use tax to provide a stream of funding for the state aid bridge program as well.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And it also, I forgot about this part, it cleans up some of that bill that we passed last week also cleans up old bonds and replaces them with cash. Thanks.
Gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Newman.
Will you yield, sir?
Yes, sir.
Is this the same bill that we had?
Identical. The strike-all is 1734.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Don't see any further questions on the strike-all. Question occurs on the adoption of strike-all Amendment 1. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Strike-all is adopted. Anything further on the bill, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 114 yeas, 2 nays, bill passes. Next item, gentlemen. Excuse me, gentlemen. Lady from Jones, Ms. Robinson.
Introduction out of order, sir.
You're recognized.
Thank you. If you would please direct your attention to the North Gallery, I would like to introduce the Southern Pine Youth Leadership Workshop Group, and students please stand. Ruby Sage Rogers, Carly Harrell, Emma Claire Hennington, Emma Grace Thompson, Sydney Walters. Their advisors are Steve Bryant and Daryl Moffitt. Please help me welcome them to your capital.
Welcome. Gentleman from Jackson, Mr. Barton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would everyone please help me make welcome? We have some students representing Singing River Electric, part of this youth leadership workshop. Cameron Bardwell from East Central High School, Kevin McLean, Wayne County High School, Daniel Pickens, Resurrection High School in Pascagoula. Help me make them welcome.
Mr. Chairman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe we were on item 14, Senate Bill 2695. So I would ask that we call that bill up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time and placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The strike all we have before us is simply adding a reverse repealer. This is our tourism project incentive program that's been on the books for several years. This extends the deadlines, but it also does add a reverse repealer to the bill in case we need to make any other changes as this bill goes throughout the process. I'd like to take it to conference.
Questions on the strike all? Don't see any. Gentleman moves adoption of the strike all amendment. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Strike all is adopted. Anything further, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 112 yeas, 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Item 15 is the next item, Senate Bill 2698. We call that bill up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill, gentlemen.
I would next ask that we recognize the gentleman from Tallahatchie to handle his bill.
Gentleman from Tallahatchie, you're recognized. I believe you've got a strike all.
Mr. Speaker, there is a strike all amendment. If I could explain that, that is exactly word for word with Bart adding 2 words to clarify, as the House passed last week about renewable credit, gives it another 3 years, and that's all the bill does. It's exactly what you passed last week.
Gentleman from Alcorn, Mr. Bain.
Yes.
Gentlemen, 44 years, is this the last time we're going to see you up there?
It may be, but it may not be.
Maybe not. Hopefully not.
All right. Take care, gentlemen. Thank y'all.
I don't see any further questions. Gentleman moves adoption of the strike all amendment in lieu of the original bill. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill?
No, sir.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 112 yeas, 6 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
The next item is 16, Senate Bill 2703. Call that bill up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read the third time and placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Please recognize the gentleman from Octavia Hall to handle the bill.
Gentleman from Octavia Hall is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have an amendment at the appropriate time.
That time would be now. You're recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen, the amendment is to take out the words intermediate license. We no longer have an intermediate license. That's what this does. The amendment.
Don't see any questions on the amendment. Question occurs on the adoption of Amendment 1. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment's adopted. Anything further on the bill, gentlemen?
The bill, well, all it does is it allows the children that are in the MDCPS, Mississippi Department of Child Protective Services, it waives the fees. That's what this does. It helps those kids that need some help when they're getting their driver's license.
Don't see any questions on the bill.
Final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 118 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Lady from Pearl River, Ms. Wilkes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Introduction.
You're recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the South Gallery, we have the 4th grade classes from Heritage Christian Academy from my district in Picayune. Please make them feel welcome.
Welcome. Gentleman from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
For an introduction.
You're recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the North Gallery, we have the District Attorney from Adams County on behalf of Representative Chris Bell, Harness, and myself, Cockerham, and Mims. We'd like you all to help her make welcome. And her son Colin is there with her too. Thank you.
Welcome. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
We're going to skip 17 and go to item 18, Senate Bill 2842. Call that bill up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill, gentlemen.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this bill deals with the use tax diversions. It revises the formula for the formula for which the cities receive their portion of it from what we set up back in the 2018 special session. The strike-all has a reverse repealer in it because this bill, I'm not comfortable with it yet. I don't know exactly how all cities would be affected by this change. So I want some time to look at it further. And if it's harmless or if it does some good things, I'd like to bring it back out in a conference report. And that's the reason for the reverse repealer.
That's an explanation of the strike-all. Questions on the strike-all? I don't see any, gentlemen. Question occurs on the adoption of strike-all Amendment 1. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Strike-all is adopted. Anything further on the bill?
No, sir.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 114 yeas, 1 nay, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
I would next move that we go to item 19, Senate Bill 2851, and call that bill up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read a third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Would you recognize the other gentleman from Jackson to handle this bill?
Gentleman from Jackson, Mr. Geis, is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2851 predominantly changes the name of the Mississippi Technology Alliance to Innovate Mississippi. It also changes the level of help or assistance they can provide to the applicants. Currently, applicants would apply for $100,000 in certain programs twice, so they could receive up to $200,000. The new amount would be just switching it to once for $250,000. This program has been in place since 2007, started with $4 million. They've helped 42 companies with $3.44 million. And the companies now have raised $15.5 million. They employ 137 people. Their annualized payroll recently is $8.6 million, paying about $400,000 in Mississippi payroll taxes each year. It's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill?
Move adoption.
I don't see any. You move final passage, gentlemen?
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 110 yeas, 4 nays, the bill passes. Anything further from Ways and Means? I believe we're going to go to the local and private calendar. Chairman, local and private. Gentleman from Bolivar, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Brief introduction, please.
You're recognized.
On behalf of the gentleman from Sunflower and Representative Rosebud and myself, we'd like to give you all help make welcome Mr. Edric Hall, one of our constituents from Shaw, Mississippi.
Gentleman from Jackson, you're recognized for local and private.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 1 and call up House Bill 1521, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1521 is for the city of Brandon. This is a food and beverage, 2% food and beverage tax. It's been on for a while. It is for tourism, parks, and recreation, and we've added a 4-year repealer. And that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 109 yeas, 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 2, call up House Bill 1540. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1540 is for the city of Coffeyville. This would impose a new tax on food and beverage. It's 2%. There will have to be an election, 60% to pass it. Only then will the tax become effective. They are going to use this for tourism, parks, and recreation, and that is an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 109 yeas, 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 3, call up House Bill 1541. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1541 would authorize the Board of Supervisors in Tallahatchie County to convey some property that they have there to the town of Webb. I think the property currently, is being used as a library, but it would, all we're doing here is authorizing the Board of Supervisors to convey this property to the city. That's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 4, call up House Bill 1542. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is very similar to the one we just passed. It would authorize the Board of Supervisors in Tallahatchie County to convey similar properties to the town of Tutwiler. It is being used as a public library. It would allow them to convey that property to the city. That's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 5, call up House Bill 1583. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is for the city of Durant. It would authorize them to levy a 2% tax on food and beverage. This is a new tax, so it would require an election. 60% could not be put into effect until then. It's got a 4-year repealer, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 109 yeas, 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 6, call up House Bill 1662. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1662 is for the city of Ripley. What they're asking us to do here is allow them to go to the Public Service Commission and get a certificate of public need and necessity to run their water outside the city limits and outside of what they're normally authorized to do without permission from the Public Service Commission. So all we're really doing is just allowing them to go to the Public Service Commission to get permission to do this. That's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 113 yeas, 2 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 7, call up House Bill 1703. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1703 is for Coahoma County. There is, within Coahoma County, there is a reserve and trust fund. This fund has been there quite some time. The Board of Supervisors is the trustee of the fund, and occasionally they utilize some money out of that fund for their general fund. And so what we're doing here is authorizing them to transfer money from their trust into their general fund. And that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 109 yeas, 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This, I'd like to go to item number 8, call up House Bill 1712. Make the usual motion.
The gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1712 is for the city of Vicksburg. What they're asking for here is to be able to contribute some funds or provide some in-kind services for the maintenance of a cemetery, Tate Cemetery. And that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 109 yeas, 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 9, call up Senate Bill 2151. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is for the city of North Carrollton. This is just an extension of an existing tax, a food and beverage tax, 2%. We've extended the repealer for 4 years. The proceeds are for tourism, parks, and recreation. That's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Etowamba, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman, you yield?
Certainly.
Is there going to be an election on this?
Not on this one. This is not in fact, this tax is only 3 years old.
It's only
it was passed in 4 years old, 2019.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't see any further questions. You move final passage, gentlemen. He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 106 yeas, 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 10, call up Senate Bill 2518. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 2518 is for the city of Batesville. This is a tourism tax that they have on food and beverage and hotels and motels of 3%. We've extended the repealer for 4 years, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 107 yeas, 3 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Got to go to item number 11, call up Senate Bill 2521, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is for the city of Carrollton. This bill went into effect originally in 2019, so we're 4 years. All we're doing is extending the repealer 4 years. It's a food and beverage tax of 2% for tourism, parks, and recreation for the city of Carrollton. That's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any.
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 106 yeas, 3 nays, the bill passes. Next item, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Go to item number 12, call up Senate Bill 2890, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
We have a strike call.
Gentleman calls up the strike all in lieu of the original bill. You want to explain the strike all, gentlemen?
Yes. I'll explain the bill and explain why we did the strike all. This authorizes the Board of Supervisors of Lee County to contribute an available amount not to exceed $50,000 annually to the Sanctuary Hospice House. It came to us without a repeal date. So we have inserted a 4-year repealer in this, and we'll send it back to the Senate. The strike all is adding the 4-year repealer. That's an explanation of the strike all.
Questions on the strike all? I don't see any. Question recurs to the adoption of strike all amendment 1. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill?
Move final passage.
Gentleman moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 107 yeas, 5 nays, the bill passes.
Local private yield.
Announcements, Mr. Clerk. Announcements, Madam Clerk. Announcements by the members. Gentleman from Kapai, Mr. Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Adjourn in memory. Would like to.
You're recognized, gentleman.
Thank you. As we leave today, I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of Mr. Charles Wilson Collins of Greenwood, Mississippi.
Thank you, sir. We will do that. Gentleman from Scott, Mr. Miles.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have an announcement. You probably received on your desk these nice little thank you notes from our friends at the Mississippi State Hospital. They also have attached to them where they will have a food truck at the corner of Galloway Methodist Church today for your lunch. If you'll take that ticket and present it down there, they'll give you a free lunch. The food truck's great because it's from Morden, Mississippi, and they have great food. So make sure to visit with them.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unanimous consent to change my vote on yesterday's calendar, number 8 of the general calendar, Senate Bill 2544, from no to yes.
Is there objection? Don't hear any. Change the gentleman's vote. Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Brown.
Adjourn in memory, please, sir.
You're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to adjourn today in honor of Mrs. Gloria Wilson, a church member of yours truly, who passed away earlier this week. May God bless her. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We will do that. Gentleman from Grenada, Mr. Horan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been asked to announce that the Judd B. Corrections annual party at McBee's, which includes the three-legged race, the spelling bee, and trivia, things of that nature, karaoke, will be March the 22nd. I want everybody to get prepared and get their adrenaline up and be prepared for that on March the 22nd. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Will you report the winners from those contests?
Yeah, there will be awards, Mr. Speaker, and we will report the winners.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll look forward to that as a body. Gentleman, lady from Hines, Ms. Summers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to change my vote on yesterday's calendar, Senate Bill 2218, from present to yes.
Is there objection? Change the lady's vote. Don't see any further announcements. I recognize, gentleman from Pearl River, Mr. Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like unanimous consent to change my vote on yesterday's calendar, number 31, Senate Bill 2218, from yes to no, and then number 32, Senate Bill 2652, from no to yes.
Is there objection? Chair's in doubt. Change the gentleman's vote. Don't see anything further from any member. I'll recognize the gentleman from Oktibbeha for the motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move this House stand adjourned until 9 a.m. in the morning.
You heard the gentleman's motion. All those in favor of adjourning until 9 a.m. tomorrow indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House is adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow. Andrew. Hey, we're going to do page pictures here. We missed that announcement, but page pictures right now.